Hello everybody and welcome to week 7 of our online class here using Visual Basic to learn about programming. This week we are going to look at a number of different things. We're going to revisit the topic of sub-procedures. This is actually a topic that was introduced during the first semester, but we did a really kind of simple introduction to it and didn't get involved in it in a lot of detail. And right now we're actually going to learn a lot more about these sub-procedures, how we can write them with parameters, which makes them a little more powerful. So this first link up here is a repeat of a clip that you saw during the first semester, but it's been quite a while, so you might want to take a look at that again. And then the rest of the stuff is new stuff, sub-procedures with parameters in them, what it means for by-val and by-reference parameters, how to send control objects as arguments, and then be parameters in those procedures and functions. Okay, so there are a number of things in here for this week. Some of these are only a couple minutes long, but some of them are 8 or 9 minutes long. You are going to be creating a little dice game this week, and the graphics for the dice are in here. Now, what I would say with this week, I think everything you've learned up to this point in time, you should be able to build the dice game without knowing any of the stuff for this week, really. And you know what? I would suggest just going ahead and doing that. Build this dice game based on the things that you now already know. Okay? And I would take a look at these videos and these topics about sub-procedures and functions over the course of the week while you're building this game. Now, this dice game is going to be the first. We are going to work on this a couple of times here. So there'll be a second version of this. So you don't have to worry about menu items yet on it. You don't have to add a creative thing yet. And I would just, like I said, make it without really. I would read through these things, watch the videos, think about them a little bit, let them sink in, and then next week, when we do version 2.0 of this dice game, you're going to revise this dice game incorporating these things, and I think you're going to see that your dice game then, at that point, will have a lot less code and be more efficient. So I'm really not going to judge you. This is, like I said, simple 10-point, get this dice game up and running, and I'm not going to be judging you about these new topics yet, but then next week, I'll give you some feedback on did you get this thing working correctly, and then I'll expect you to add these things in for version 2.0. Okay? Just going back in time here a little bit, you took that quiz on the looping structures a while back. Hopefully you clicked in here and read the feedback for your answers, and hopefully that made sense. If you still have questions about any of the things in there, let me know. There was one question on there that had a mistake in it, and I gave everybody credit for that question if you got it wrong. And I did the one person that figured out what was actually wrong with this bit of code got some extra credit too. So here we had this little for next loop, and the word was going into string example here, and then this for next loop was supposed to start at 0 and go up to string example dot length -1, right? So it was asking you, the question asked you, how many times will this loop run? Actually, none, because when it's trying to subtract 1 from a string, it's going to throw an exception saying it can't do that, right? So I had accidentally left out the dot length here. If we're looking at the length property of word and subtracting 1, the length property is 4 for this, right? But the indexing only goes up to 3 because it starts at 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're starting at 0, going up to 3. The loop would run 4 times. So that was the answer I was looking for, but I made a little mistake when I was typing it in there, and this wasn't something that was really in a program that was being run, so I didn't notice that mistake. So I apologize for that. We'll get it fixed before the next class takes a look at that quiz. By the way, I did get one question that said, doesn't this after next have to say next int index? And that's a good question. It does not. If you just say next, it's going to know that you mean int index. Now I think all the examples and documentation showed that, and it's a good practice to type that there. It's explicitly saying that we're going to the next int index, but you can get away without that. But I'll probably be putting that in when I revise this anyway, so that someone else isn't confused by that. So I apologize for that if that confused you. Like I said, if you have any other questions about any of those things in the quiz, let me know. I'd be happy to try to explain it in a different way. So this week, like I said, we're moving on to these more information about sub-procedures, learning it about functions. You're building a dice game, and really next week is when we'll incorporate all this information about sub-procedures and functions in there. I do know there are some of you that have no school this coming Friday, and some of you that have no school, that have school this Friday but then don't have it the next Friday, kind of thing. So that's where I'm looking for really, if you don't have time to get to some of this stuff, get your dice game going, and you could come back to this the second week, because that's when you'll really be incorporating it, whichever week works for you. But I think we should all be able to kind of stick together with those Fridays coming out different weeks because of how this is set up. So if you have any questions, just send me a message.